Okay, good evening, everybody. It's Brad from World Expeditions. Just welcoming you to tonight's webinar with Mr. Soren Kruse Ledet, one of our longest serving, standing, and most popular mountaineers. He's always got that extra time to make sure you learn, not just experience. And so tonight he's Nepal Mountaineering 101 and outlining some of the expeditions that he'll be leading, and you can join him on. If you've got any questions, there is a Q&A box. We'll answer them at the end. You can type it in there. But in the meantime, thanks, Soren. Over to you, mate.
Thank you very much, Brad, and thank you to all of you for joining me tonight. Yes, I'm Soren. I've had the pleasure of working for World Expeditions for 25 plus years. I've been guiding expeditions across the Himalayas, in Bhutan, in Nepal, in Pakistan, in Kyrgyzstan, and South America. And so, if nothing else, tonight you'll have a look into my what is my office effectively. Where to begin? So I guess for any of you, any person looking at joining a trek, or in this case, a mountaineering trip, you want to control what you can control, and that includes, of course, your fitness training. So I always recommend people take this seriously. So you want to try and be as fit as you possibly can. Don't make it boring for yourself. Mix it up. So you want to do, if you can, it is a time-consuming endeavor, but you are training for a goal. So make it interesting for yourself. So do the bike riding, the swimming, the jogging, the bushwalking, stairs in the local park. If you have a rowing machine in your gym, if you have access to a climbing gym, mix it up. But I think nothing probably beats bushwalking, even overnight with a heavy pack. So you carry more on your pack than you would on a given day on a trek. But be as well prepared physically as you possibly can be. That will also give you a psychological and a mental edge. The fitter you are, the better you'll perform. I think importantly, always expect a summit day if you are going and climbing a peak, that it's probably not going to be an easy sort of 7 or 8 hour sort of day up and down. It's probably going to be a 12 plus hour outing. How do you perform physically after 12 hours? I think it's probably a good exercise for any of you to experience that on your body. So have an overnight, bushwalking session where you see, okay, I've been now doing vigorous, strenuous exercise for 12 hours. What does this look like for me? So be as prepared as you possibly can be will definitely be my advice. So tonight we'll be talking a little bit about sort of refresher courses, mountaineering courses, and then a trip or two that you can join where it's an optional sort of add-on to climb a peak as well. So why don't we start with a refresher? So you might find yourself, you can be a completely beginner as far as mountaineering or climbing is concerned. So you wonder, what is this all about? I haven't done any abseiling. I don't like the fact that I'll be going to do something that I've never experienced before. I would like to have a little bit of training. Anywhere in the world, I would suggest it is possible for you to find and do a really short course that can cover things like rock climbing, abseiling. If you are lucky enough to live on the east coast of Australia, if you live in Sydney, I suggest you come up to the Blue Mountains and have a day out with me, a full day or half a day. We can make it specific to your needs. So as in, if you just want to focus on abseiling, that is very easy to do. If you are looking at doing a refresher sort of outing on a multi-pitch rock climb, we can absolutely accommodate you as well. If you're looking at maybe ascending and descending some fixed lines, I can easily set up a little course for you where we sort of descend down and climb back up, and we spend a whole day kind of practicing. So you feel more comfortable and more familiar with the various techniques. So if you haven't done any climbing, if you haven't touched the rope for a long time and you are going to go on a mountaineering trip, then I absolutely suggest that you do a little course or refresher of some sort. If you are sort of looking at, oh, sorry, I should also say that this is the case for all the mountaineering trips that we run. There will be a training day at base camp. Base camp could be Mira Peak, as in the video just there. It can be, at the base of Amana Blam, or it could be Cholo, anywhere in the world really, but we will have a little refresher. So that means that everyone will be on the same page. You might have done a little course in North America. You might have done one in the UK. You might have done one in Australia. This is just to ensure that everyone's on the same page, that we use the same techniques, and that is easier for me and my staff to manage if we're all on the same page as far as that is concerned. So a refresher course is never a bad thing. If you are looking at sort of more of a deep dive into mountaineering, if you are wanting to have a higher degree of self-sufficiency, then I absolutely recommend a proper climbing course. We've developed this amazing course in Nepal. It takes place in the Rawaling Valley, which is the valley just west of the Everest National Park. It's off the beaten track. And we'll be doing all the training at about 4,100, 4,200 meters. The trip course is 24 days, and it's very much hands-on. You'll be learning knots and practicing a few different things on the walk in, and then it's going to be hands-on for a good 8 or 9 days around the small settlement of Na, where we practice a variety of techniques. The thing about this particular course is that you get to utilize your skills. So the aim is for you to learn mountaineering skills, be it on rock or snow or ice, but you can then implement those newfound skills when we climb a small peak nearby called Chekiko. So Chekiko Peak is a great little mountain. It's right on the border with Tibet. It's a little bit technical in places. If you want to be involved in fixing the ropes and sort of having being up there with the climbing Sherpas, that is possible. But it's a nice way to put all your skills together and actually climbing a peak. So excellent little course, this one. We'll be practicing things like self-rescue. What does that look like if you fall into a crevasse? How do I get myself out? How do I build a rock anchor? How do I do that using cams or nuts? How do I build one using existing bolts? You'll be learning a variety of knots, and you'll be learning various abseil skills.
Give it a test on the rock a little bit further down.
Yep. So you'll be using, what is bottom belay, what is top belay, what is self belay. Basically, the aim is that by the end of this, you will have a pretty solid understanding of what it means to be safe in a mountain environment. We'll be touching on things like avalanche awareness as well. Depending on conditions, we might be lucky enough to have really good ice conditions, in which case we'll be doing some ice climbing as well. And as the picture in the bottom left suggests, you'll be learning how to build ice anchors as well. So really, it's a good all-round course where you really get to learn a lot of skills in a pretty special environment. Hence, well, this is my office, like I was alluding to before. So I highly recommend doing a course. Whether it's this one, I would love you to join me. This course will run in March every year. The next one is in 2027. But doing a course of some sort, if mountaineering is something you want to do, having a good understanding of what is right and what is wrong is super important for ultimately your safety. So on all our trips, and this is, whether it's a trek or a climb, we have a long list of what items that we can supply for you, and also quite a detailed list of what it's expected that you supply as well. If you are lucky enough to do a trip in Nepal, a lot of this stuff on the right can be purchased in Kathmandu, but in order to save time and in order to make sure that you actually have all the things that you need, we do recommend that you bring it from home. I know that if you are looking at your first ever mountaineering trip, buying a pair of double boots, it's a big expense. So I completely understand that you would want to hire them for your first ever trip. That is possible in Kathmandu. If you do a trip in, say, Pakistan, then it's not possible to hire boots, so you will have to bring them from home. Either way, we obviously will give you a detailed itinerary of what to expect on the trip, and also a PDI, the pre-departure information, which has quite a detailed list of all the bits of equipment and clothing that you are expected to bring. Again, it's one of the things that you can control. So there might be an item on there like mittens, for instance. So mittens it's quite an expensive item to buy, and it might be an item that you only use for maybe 4 or 5 hours on summit day. But it's one of those things that you have to have, because when it's minus 15 degrees, you want to make sure that all your fingers are attached by the end of the expedition. Anyway, so go through the equipment list. If you have any questions, of course, contact the office, or if you're going on a trip with me, contact me directly. So the trip that I'll be leading this coming July is I'll be returning to the Karakoram range in Pakistan, in northern Pakistan, and we'll be heading up to K2 base camp. It's an option to climb a small peak called Pastoria Peak, and then we will exit out over the famous Gondagora. It's an outstanding trek, this one, and I'm really excited about doing this particular trip again. We went up in 2024 and couldn't quite get all the way up Pastoria Peak due to snow conditions. So fingers crossed, or inshallah, the conditions will be favorable this year. So if you look at this little map here, we'll be coming up the glacier from the left, so passing Oedicus all the way up to Concordia. The Concordia is this famous confluence of 3 or actually 4 major glaciers where you're surrounded by 8,000 and 7,000 meter peaks. And Pastoria Peak is a little bit sort of up the road, across from Broad Peak, and just down from K2 base camp. Before we get all the way up there, we'll be passing the famous Trango Towers, Ulibayo, and for anyone who's trekked in Nepal, going to Pakistan is completely different. It is a moonlight landscape, if you like, but the scenery is jaw-droppingly beautiful. Of course, when you turn the corner and you head up to K2 base camp, you can actually get really close to K2, the mountain. Different from Everest, which is always a little bit sort of behind, I suppose. You can see in the middle of the picture here, just below K2, you can see a row of tents, and that's base camp. So basically, from base camp on K2, you can walk close to the mountain, you can touch the mountain, and it just rises 3.5 kilometers above you. You can sit down below, and you can watch people climb up there's about 4 or 5 different routes visible, and you can see people move between Camp 2 and Camp 3 and all the way up to Camp 4. It really is awe-inspiring. But what we're trying to do is climb Pastoria Peak, which is just a little bit down the glacier and across the valley. So the idea is that we will put up some fixed ropes It's not really a technical mountain, so it's going to be a bit of a snow plod, but anything over 6,000 meters will be quite a physical undertaking and a challenge. But I suspect the views from the top will be amazing. So you'll have K2 on your left, you'll have Broad Peak directly opposite the glacier in front of you, and then further around to your right behind, you'll have the Gasherbrooms, Gasherbroom 1 and Gasherbroom 2. So basically, on a clear day, you'll see 4 8,000-meter peaks. It'll be amazing. So I'm super excited about this particular trip. And then on summit day, all of the above applies. And if we're lucky, we'll have views like this one. So just to be clear, this is actually not from the top of Mussoorie Peak. This is from the summit of Mira Peak in Nepal. Mira Peak is also what you would consider an entry-level mountaineering trip. It's not technically difficult. And the good thing about Mira is that it's a little bit south of the main range. So on a clear day, you have true panoramic views of quite a few 8,000-meter peaks, including Kanchenjunga and Everest and Choyu and Lhotse and so on. Well, hopefully, that is what you'll be experiencing when you reach the top. And like I said, I'm very excited about Mussoorie Peak because it is not often climbed, and I think it will be a really fun outing with a nice, beautiful, rewarding view at the end of it. The other trip that sort of is on the program for later in the year is the West Khumbu exploratory. So Tim McCartney-Snape will be the main lead on that one, and I am looking at making a little guest appearance at some point. But the idea is to head up into the kind of far northwest of the Everest National Park, so up towards the Nang Pala and an area that is rarely trekked. It used to be part of the old trade route linking Tibet and Nepal. The border is now closed, but that whole area is rarely explored. And so Tim and I will be heading up there and having a bit of a look around, and we will probably find a small mountain to climb. Nothing overly technical, but it will be a grand adventure, no doubt. So I guess I wanted to keep this sort of short and sweet tonight because I don't want to bog you down with too much information. But I guess my main point for this evening, for this little webinar, is I do believe in self-sufficiency, and I do believe in being as prepared and as well trained as I possibly can be. And so doing a course, I think, is key, and having an experience of working with ropes at altitude is unbeatable in my view, as a way of gaining skills and laying a good solid foundation for your kind of life in the mountains. So I highly recommend you come along and join me on one of these climbing courses in Nepal. And like any of the World Expeditions trips, it's fully catered for. So we'll have porters supporting us. We'll have our own kitchen crews. We'll be completely self-sufficient for the duration of the trip. We bring all the food and fuel and everything that we need to function, for 3.5 weeks in the mountains. We bring it all. And if you have had the pleasure of being on a World Expeditions trip in the past, then you'll know that the food is extraordinary. It's nutritious and it's plentiful, and you will be wondering, if you're ever going to lose weight. But if you do a climb, then most likely at some point you will sort of shed a few kilos. Anyway, look, I hope I will see you, maybe not all of you, but certainly some of you in the mountains. But I would like to sort of open to questions. So over
Yeah.
to you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Soren. I just want to remind people in their toolbar, somewhere on their Zoom toolbar, you will see Q&A and you will be able to write a question there that'll pop up for Soren. Soren, I've just got one. Thank you for doing that. What kind of treks maybe should people have done before that they consider doing? You know, I heard Pastori Peak snowplod and I thought, oh, the Everest Three Passes
I
trek was a
would,
bit like that.
yeah. So I wouldn't have thought it would be a prerequisite to have done a trek before joining the Pastori Peak trip. We certainly have in the past. We've taken people who have no prior altitude experience on that particular trek. It's a nice gradual ascent, and traditionally we don't have many issues with altitude.
Yeah. Oh, one question there. Oops, sorry, I logged in late. How many are signed up for Pastori Peak? How many more do we need? We might not have that information straight at our fingertips tonight. Do you know anything, Soren? Sorry.
No, I don't know the latest figures. I'm sorry. I know the
Probably
trip is
best.
not yet confirmed,
Yeah.
but I think we're heading in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Yep.
best to oh, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Best
Uh,
to email the
Yep.
office.
Hello, Chris. Yeah, I would definitely get in touch with the office. But I wouldn't sit on the fence, because if everyone sits on the fence and no one books, then
Yeah. Now here, David's got a question. Can double boots be hired in the Blue Mountains where I live?
Not that I know of, David. Yep.
Yeah, and Chris is just saying he's already booked, so good on you, Chris.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, yeah. Not that I know of. In fact, I think hiring double boots in Australia is it's not easy. So most people will have to probably purchase boots. Yeah, it's hard to hire. In fact, I think something like um, a Facebook marketplace or something might be the way to go to kind of get around that. But that is something that we need to figure out with WorldX.
Yeah, I'll just mention to everyone on our blog, there's lots of articles that Soren's contributed to that might answer some questions. Soren is always available. You can get in touch with him through the office.
Yep.
So, oh, Chris has got one last question. Last Sportiva recommendations for boots?
Yeah, there's the G2s or equivalent will be the way to go. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you do have a question, sometimes it pops into your mind just as you hang up, just definitely get in touch with the office and we'll get you in touch with Soren. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Soren.
My pleasure. See you in the mountains.
Good evening.